You know how sometimes you do something and in the moment it feels like the only option, even if it's totally messed up, and then everything goes sideways and everyone looks at you like you grew a second head, but you're just sitting there thinking, seriously? This is my fault. Yeah, that's pretty much my life story. I'm Sierra. I'm 28. And I was in the army, then a contractor. This isn't some sob story. Just how things went down. What happened with that head count? With the building collapsing? Well, it wasn't exactly my shining moment, but it wasn't my fault either. Not really. It all started, I guess, when I met Mark. He was a contractor, too, but on a different team. Bigger, with more resources. I was with a smaller outfit, always getting the short end of the stick. My squad was all right. A few good guys. A few who were pretty much dead weight. The kind of guys who always needed you to pull their ruck or forgot their water. And our LT, don't even get me started. He was fresh out of OCS, thought he knew everything, but couldn't pour water out of a boot if the instructions were written on the sole. I tried to make it work. Honestly, I'm a pro. I know how to adapt, but it's hard when you're constantly battling against your own people just to do the job. Mark, though, he was different. He actually listened. He'd come over to our FOB. We'd grab some MREs, and I'd vent about how my team was holding me back. He'd just nod. Sometimes offer advice. He was a too nice guy, for sure. Always trying to avoid conflict. Always people-pleasing. Which, at first, was great. I needed someone to just listen. Not tell me what I should have done or how I could have done it better. I get enough of that from the chain of command. Who, by the way, always seemed to have it out for me. Between us, I think they just didn't like a woman being better at the job than half the men. Things started to get a little complicated. He was always trying to help me out, sending over extra gear or intel he'd picked up. I appreciated it, of course. Who wouldn't? But then he started acting all territorial, questioning who I was talking to, especially after he saw me chatting with some guys from another unit. I'd be like, chill out, Mark. It's just work. But he'd get this look, like I was doing something wrong. And then he'd get all quiet, act all checked out. And I'd have to coax him back, make him understand that I wasn't just some dumb girl who needed a babysitter. It was exhausting. He'd be like, I just worry about you, Sierra. And I'd be like, I can handle myself. Thanks. But then I'd turn it around, right? Because he'd go off with his team, and I wouldn't hear from him for hours. I'd start texting, are you okay? Why aren't you answering? Are you even thinking about me? And if he didn't respond fast enough, I'd just shut down. He'd come back to the fob, and I'd be all quiet. Give him the cold shoulder until he was practically begging to know what was wrong. It always worked. He'd apologize, say he was just busy, and I'd let him off the hook. The mission that day, the sweep, was a mess from the start. We were supposed to clear this old government building, thought to be used by insurgents. Our intel was spotty, like always. My squad was assigned the 3rd floor, which was already sketchy. The building looked like it had been hit by an IED already, half collapsed in places. Total death trap. But hey, orders are orders, right? I tried to tell the LT that we needed more support, that it was too risky with just our small team. He just waved me off. Just get it done. Sierra? See, no support. Ever. We started the sweep, moving slow. You know how it is. Every shadow looks like a tripwire. Every creak sounds like someone sneaking up on you. We were supposed to do a quick head count before we entered each section, just to make sure everyone was accounted for. Standard procedure, right? But things were already going sideways. One of my guys, Miller, was complaining about his radio, said it was cutting out. Another, Ramirez, was always lagging behind, looking at his phone or something. Total waste of space. It was hot, dusty, and I was already stressed. We got to the 3rd floor, and the LT was on the radio, wanting a head count now. Here's the thing. Ramirez was nowhere to be found. He'd probably wandered off to take a smoke break or something equally useless. I yelled his name a couple of times, but no answer. And the LT was already getting antsy. Sierra. Head count? Now, I knew if I told him Ramirez was missing, he'd chew me out, pull us off the mission, probably blame me for not keeping my squad in line. He always did. He'd make some snide remark about how women couldn't handle the pressure. So, in that split second, I just said we were all accounted for. Yeah, I lied. It was a dumb decision. I get it. But honestly, what was I supposed to do? Hold up the whole operation for one idiot who couldn't stay with the team. It felt like the lesser of two evils at the time. I was doing my best, trying to keep things moving, and they were just making it worse. If I was a man, They wouldn't care. We kept moving. Clearing rooms. And the whole time I had this little voice in the back of my head, gnawing at me, "Where's Ramirez?" But I pushed it down. He'd show up. He always did. Eventually. Probably just got lost or found some shade to nap in. My priority was the mission. Right. That's what they always hammered into us. Mission first. Then the ground shook. Not like a distant blast, but a deep, rumbling shudder right under our feet. The whole building groaned. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and cracks spiderwebbed across the walls. Panic hit me. "Get out! Everybody out!" I screamed, pushing my guys toward the stairwell. We scrambled, stumbling over debris, the sound of tearing metal and crumbling concrete all around us. It was chaos. We made it out, barely as the entire third floor. The one we had just been sweeping imploded, just pancaked. Outside, it was pandemonium, dust everywhere. Guys coughing, shouting. Our team medic was already trying to triage the few minor injuries we had. The LT was on the radio, his face pale. Casualty count? Now? And that's when it hit me. A cold, hard dread settling in my stomach. Everyone from my squad was accounted for. Everyone except Ramirez. My heart hammered against my ribs. No. He couldn't have been in there. He just couldn't have. They started digging immediately. Calling in QRF. Getting heavy equipment. Mark showed up with his team. Saw the collapsed building. And just stared at me. His eyes full of something I couldn't quite place. Pity. Disappointment. "Sierra, what happened?" he asked. His voice low. I just shrugged. Tried to act tough. The building collapsed. Don't know how it happened. We just got out. I avoided his gaze. I knew what he was thinking. What everyone was thinking. But I couldn't admit it. Not yet. Hours later, they found him. Or what was left of him. Ramirez. Crushed. He had probably gone back for something. Or maybe he'd been hiding. Who knows? All I knew was that he was gone. And I had lied about him being there. The LT looked at me. His face a mask of something I couldn't read. But it wasn't sympathy. More like knowing. He didn't say anything then. Not to me. But I could feel the eyes of the other soldiers. The whispers. The bitch comments. I could almost hear them. It was always me. Always the target. The investigation started right away. Of course. It did. And suddenly, everyone was interested in the headcount. My initial report. Specialist Sierra. "Can you confirm you stated all personnel were accounted for at 0930? Some captain asked. His voice flat. I just sat there, my mind racing. What could I say? "Yes, sir." My voice was barely a whisper. "And where was Specialist Ramirez at that time?" He pressed. I swallowed hard. This was it. This was where it all came crashing down. I tried to sound confident, but my voice trembled. I thought he was with us. "Sir," he'd been having radio issues. And I assumed he'd caught up. Total lie. But what else could I say? I wasn't going to throw myself under the bus for some guy who couldn't follow orders. They questioned everyone. My squad members, the LT, even Mark. Mark, bless his stupid, loyal heart, tried to back me up. Said he saw me trying to get everyone organized. But he couldn't lie about the head count. Not directly. He just said he wasn't there for my specific report. Which was true. The whispers grew louder. She left him behind. She lied. Typical Sierra. I heard it all, and it hurt. It really did, because I was doing my best. I was under pressure. My team was useless, and the chain of command was breathing down my neck. It wasn't my fault Ramirez was a screw-up. It wasn't my fault the building collapsed. It just happened. After that, everything changed. My contract wasn't renewed, which they tried to spin as budget cuts, but I knew what it was. I was essentially blacklisted. No more contracting overseas. My military career was effectively over. I went back to the States, to my little apartment in Dallas. Mark tried to reach out, but I just ignored his calls. He kept texting, "Sierra, are you okay? Let me help." But what was he going to help with? He couldn't fix this. Besides, I was furious. He knew what happened, and he didn't fight for me. He just let them throw me under the bus. He was a Mr. Growth mindset now, always talking about boundaries and self-awareness. It was exhausting. He'd talk about how he needed to process things, how he felt betrayed. Can you believe it? Like I was the one who hurt him. I tried to get other jobs, but every time I had an interview, it felt like they already knew. The questions were subtle at first, then more direct. Tell me about a time you faced a difficult decision under pressure. How do you handle accountability? I could feel their judgment. It was always me against the world. My social life pretty much imploded too. I tried connecting with some of my old military friends, but they all seemed distant. Some even blocked me on Facebook. I saw posts in military wife groups, veiled comments, about those who put others at risk or fake heroes. It was clear who they were talking about. My reputation was completely destroyed. They acted like I was some kind of monster. I just made a bad call, under pressure. And Ramirez was a liability anyway. It's not like I wished him dead. He brought it on himself, being so irresponsible. I started spending most of my time alone. My money was running out. I had a little saved, but not enough to last forever without a job. I always kept my finances separate from Mark. Even when we were together, he was the one with a steady income, always offering to pay for stuff. I just let him. Why not? It made him feel good. But now, it was just me. No job, no friends, no Mark. He actually moved on. I heard, with some sweet, quiet girl who works at a charity. Probably someone he can control. He even posts pictures of them doing wholesome activities. Like, give me a break. I almost want to find her and tell her everything. But then again, why bother? She's probably just as naive as he is. Sometimes, late at night, I think about Ramirez, not in a sad way, more in an annoyed way. If he hadn't been so useless, if he had just stayed with the team, none of this would have happened. It's his fault, really, or the LT's, for not giving us enough support, or the command, for sending us into a death trap to begin with. Everyone had a hand in it, except me. I was just trying to do my job, trying to be good at what I do, and everyone just made it harder. They always do. I don't regret anything. Not really. I made a choice in a split second, a choice I thought was best at the time. It just went wrong. And now I'm here, alone, watching my life fall apart. And it's not because of anything I did wrong. It's because everyone else was incompetent, or unsupportive, or just plain jealous. I was trying my best, and they just made it worse. I don't care anymore about Mark, about those fake friends, about any of it. They weren't there for me when it mattered. And honestly, good riddance. I'm better off without them. They just never understood.